Welcome everybody to the brand new episode of the OpEdia podcast with your host solomonokukuwafua. As always, thank you to everybody for continuing to stay plugged in, for continuing to stay tuned to this podcast from wherever you are around the world, from whatever time zone you are located in. Thank you so much for being a part of this podcast from the word go, from day one of it, and I'm really grateful of the comments and the likes and every other action that you've done through the different platforms, either on social media, either on YouTube, and also on the podcast platforms for as many that have downloaded it or listened to it as an archive. So thank you so much for giving me that feedback, because it's because of you that I'm doing what I'm doing, and it's about all of you being entertained, being informed, and also being engaged in some type of conversation to be able to better ourselves and make better decisions on everything to do with life and also the world over. So thank you so much for being a part of this podcast, and of course to those of you who are listening or watching for the first time, this is the OpEdia podcast. Now the OpEdia podcast is all about news stories that caught my eye, and at the same time maybe the headlines which are rarely talked about either on social media or on traditional media, and I bring it into the light and make sure that you get informed, and at the same time, by the time this episode is done, you engage in a conversation with your loved ones, so that you never know, maybe through this episode something can pop up, either in form of an idea, either in form of a proposal, either in form of engagement in one way or another, to be able to convert that into action to whatever evil or whatever society that we are living in, because you never know, this kind of message could save our community or could save the world or could save a person's life. So that's the purpose of this podcast. Of course, the word OpEdia comes from from the phrase oped, which you all know is the opinion editorial which you see in newspapers, and then the suffix the ia of course comes from the word Wikipedia, which you all know is the world's largest collection of everything to do with people, things, events, and places. So I combined those two and became a portmanteau called the OpEdia. And of course, to those of you who are regulars, thank you for being a part of this journey. Can't take that for granted. It's because of you. I love doing what I'm doing. Thank you for showing me love, and even as I've shown you love in return. Thank you so much. It's because of that win-win situation that I've never given up on this platform or on this opportunity, because I know it has blessed and touched many lives, and even though it is a baby step, which I don't mind, so long as I'm reaching towards the end. That's where I'm headed to. So thank you so much. And for those who are tuning in or listening to me for the first time, thank you so much. I hope that within the next 20-25 minutes is not worth wasting your time, because I know this is something that is worth conversing later on. So thank you so much for tuning in or for staying plugged. And of course, today the title is going to be called the 90s born football club owners. Now, the reason why I came up with this title is because it's a two-in-one thing which I saw just recently. Of course, one being a video article, a video posted by HITC7s, which of course is one of the most popular football channels on YouTube, and they just released it a few days ago, and I watched the video some time back, and I saw this video talking about the world's youngest owners in club football, and I just decided to use that as an op-ed and put it in form of a podcast. That's why I'm bringing that to you today in this episode of the OpEdia podcast. And then later on, after watching the video, I decided to do some research. That's why the OpEdia will be from that video translated into a podcast like this, and be able to inform you that it doesn't have to be that way, as everyone is used to seeing football clubs being run by the elderly or being run by the rich who are middle-aged, but they don't know that there's a particular group of people who are young, either they are millennials, either they are Gen Zs, you never know. And we as a society, we take it for granted, and that's why I want to bring it into light and be able to discuss that with you. So that is just a disclaimer. And without any further ado, let's talk about, of course, the 90s born football club owners. Of course, why have I named it that way? Because number one, I'll give you the top 4 youngest owners who are all of them born in the 90s, so that's a commonality. And then number 2, out of the 4, 1 was born in the Gen Z era, and then number 2, which is a 2-in-1 thing, the rest are millennials. So that's why I was able to come up with this title. And of course, like I said not long ago, this came from a video posted by HITC7s, and I did a little more research through Wikipedia and Google. So that's how I was able to come up with this episode, and I hope you enjoy it. And of course, not taking much of a time, let's begin with the 4th youngest football club owner in the world, and it goes by the name of Laurence Girard, who not only founded but he runs New Amsterdam Football Club. Now, to him, he is currently, of course, 30 years old, born in 1992, and what he does outside of that is the CEO of Fruit Street. Now, CEO of Fruit Street is a medical company that focuses on diabetes related prevention and awareness and everything to do with funding for such causes. And not only that, he used to be a player at the Red Bull Soccer Academy, and I think he didn't play much in terms of playing time and experience, and decided to call it quits and started focus on other business ventures, which I've already explained not long ago. And of course, the club called New Amsterdam Football Club, the phrase New Amsterdam comes from, of course, the first name that was given to New York City when it was being colonized by the Dutch. And of course, when the Dutch settled in that city, it was called New Amsterdam, which was his first name. Before, we all know the history of New York City. It was regained by the Americans, and they went through the War of Independence, and then they got independence from Britain, and that's how they renamed it to New York City. And of course, New York City being one of the first capital cities of the United States, which is now currently held by Washington DC. That's how he was inspired to use the name New Amsterdam and then put with the FC at the end. So that's how he was able to name that club New Amsterdam Football Club. And then moving forward, the nickname of the club is called the Cannons. Of course, the Cannons is similar to the Gunners, like we all know for Arsenal, but for his club, it's nicknamed the Cannons. And they currently play in the 3rd division of the US Soccer Pyramid, which is of course called the National Independent Soccer Association, which is of course it's not based on a promotion relegation system, but rather whoever has the most money and everything being set up, then you are registered to be a part of the league. So that's how he did it. And of course, he joined that league in April 20th 2020, which is of course already less than 2 years old, which they are still in that league till now, like I said, because they are no longer the league is not based on a promotion and or relegation system. And of course, a unique thing about this club is that, according to the notes I've written, is that the club uses a local approach which is similar to Athletic Bilbao, but in this case, whereby 50 to 60% of the players in that team will be local New Yorkers. So in short, more than half to 60% of all the players in the team, either in the academy, either the senior team, or either the youth, whatever it is, it has to be people either from New York City or from the state of New York. So, and then with the rest of that percentage share goes to international players. So that's very unique, and I hope that more clubs of such characteristic will be able to exist, pop up, and be able to defy tradition and show the world that this is 21st century and we're all based on community, and that's how we are going to run our own sports team. So congratulations to Laurence Girard for leading that way, and I hope that doesn't give up his dream of football, because as you all know, that's his first love, being football. Then America they call it soccer. Congratulations to him for being a part of a multiple of business ventures, not only in medicine but also in sports. And then the third youngest, moving forward to the list, the third youngest football club owner. Now this is a duo who I believe they are friends, and they are both from Indonesia, and their names are Atta Halilintar and Putra Siregar. Now both of them are from Indonesia. They are friends. They have known each other for a number of years, and I'm going to give you some facts, of course, according to the research I've done. Now for Atta is the most popular YouTuber in Indonesia, and not just Indonesia but in the Asian region. And Asian is basically in capital letters, which stands for Association of Southeast Asian Nations. So in short, he's the most popular YouTuber both in Indonesia and Southeast Asia. And of course, currently he's 27 years old. He's going to turn 28 in November, whereas Putra Siregar is, of course, age mates with him, only a few months older than Atta. And of course, they are the ones behind AHHA PS Party. And how did they get the club? They bought a majority stake of PSG Party, which some say is affiliated with PSG of France. Either it is directly or indirectly or unrelated. It's for you guys to be your own judge. But of course, they bought the majority stake of PSG Party last year, and they changed the club name to the name which I've just mentioned not long ago, which is AHHA PS Party. That's his current name, and is officially founded under that new name on 14th June 2021, which is of course less than a year old. So the club's nickname is the Dark Horses. Wow, the Dark Horses. And then what are they doing currently? They're currently playing in the second division of Indonesian football, which is called Liga 2. So imagine you have Laurence Girard already. He's 30 years old, born in 1992, leading his own football club. Then you have this duo of Indonesians, one a YouTuber, the other one a friend of his, who are both 27 years old. So I mean, who told you that you have to have this certain amount of money, or to be at this certain age, or to be this certain experience, to be able to run a football club or a sports team of whatever kind? It doesn't matter. I mean, if you have the zeal, if you have the team around you that is best suited for you to run a sports team, or to start a sports team, or to buy a sports team, then anything is possible. I mean, don't be limited. So that's what is currently showing us right now. And then moving forward to the list, the second youngest football club owner in the world, that is Adrian Mititelu Jr, who is of course born on August 1997. So that basically means that he's 24 years old and is going to turn 25 in August. So little facts about him. He is the son of Adrian Mititelu Sr, who is a Romanian media mogul. And of course, speaking about his father was convicted of tax evasion last year in 2021, therefore transferring the club shares entirely to his son, and that's how his son became the new owner of the club. So in short, he didn't buy the club, or did he create the club from scratch, but rather he inherited it from his father, because of course his father was convicted, meaning he violated the law. And moving forward, the club was rebirthed in 2017 after 3 years of financial crisis. That's how his father, the senior of Mititelu, revived the club, started a new company which will be able to run the club, and so far so good. Even despite him already serving prison term, the club is currently playing in the first division of Romanian football, which is called Liga 1. So despite his evil deeds, his club are in a good position in the first division. And of course his son is one that is the president and the owner of the club currently. So the club's name is called U Craiova 1948. U Craiova 1948, rebirthed in 2017. So the last but not least, the youngest, or should I say the number one on that list, is called Kyril Louis-Dreyfus. Kyril Louis-Dreyfus, of course, currently is 24 years old. He's going to turn 25 in December. And about him, he's the son of the late Robert Louis-Dreyfus and Margarita Louis-Dreyfus, which you all know. The late Robert used to be the owner of Olympique Marseille, and during his reign, Olympique Marseille became the first and the only French club to win the Robin Cup. And of course, he also became a part of the Forbes billionaire list for a number of years during the 2000s. And when he passed away in 2009, everything went to his wife called Margarita. And of course, they have 3 children together before Robert died, Kyril being one of them, who is the youngest. And she became the majority owner of Olympique Marseille. Only later on in 2016, she sold that to Frank Marcotte in exchange for her retaining the minority stake, which is of course 5%. Then since 2016, she became a minority shareholder of OM, only to transfer those minority shares to her son Kyril, who is until today the current minority owner of Olympique Marseille. Now, for Kyril, he bought Sunderland in 2021 from its previous owner, Stuart Donald, who is no longer the majority, but rather is now a minority owner, which is alongside others as part of the ownership group. Now, part of the ownership group of Sunderland, Stuart Donald and others still maintain the majority, but in terms of an individual, it is Kyril who owns the majority. So that's why Kyril Louis-Dreyfus owns the majority shares of Sunderland and not the ownership group led by their previous owner, Stuart Donald. And of course, currently Sunderland is in EFL League 1, which is the 3rd division, and OM, also known as Olympique Marseille, are in Ligue 1 in France, which is the 1st division. And just to add an extra fact about Kyril Louis-Dreyfus is that he got married a few months ago to the daughter of a former model based in Australia, and that's just one. So meaning his marriage is still young and he has many more years to cover. And then number 2 being that he also has stakes in an esports organization called Ovation. So with that extra facts lined up there, that is the list that I've given to the 4 youngest owners in world club football. Now that brings me to a conclusion of this OpEdia podcast episode, where it says that you don't have to be old, you don't have to be experienced, you don't have to be rich, you don't have to be well connected to be able to start or run or buy a sports team. You can even be as young as a millennial or as young as a Gen Z, be able to start from somewhere and be able to defy all odds or become a disruptor in your respective industry. And that's what this list is all about. Like I said, 3 out of the 4 are millennials and 1 out of the 4 is a Gen Z. So if you're listening to me or you're watching me right now and you think this cannot happen to you, maybe you love sports, you love to start a sports team, you want to buy a sports team, you are never too young to do that. It's just a matter of zeal, passion, the right people around you, and of course the adequate amount of resources to be able to start running that franchise or to run that club or whatever sport you are in. And I know that even if it's going to be a slow start, but you're going to be guaranteed big return on investments in the long term. So focus on the long term and don't worry about the short term. Short term, everybody goes through it, but it's a matter of you focusing on the long term return on investment. So without further ado, that's it for the OpEdia podcast. Thank you to everybody watching or listening from wherever they are around the world, at whatever platform you are using. from whatever time zone you are located. And without any further ado, for those who are watching this video on YouTube, make sure you click the subscribe button, click the bell button to be notified on the next episode. And whereas for those who are new to this podcast, of course, if you are watching it on YouTube, I'll make sure I display the links and the platforms where you can get the rest as an audio, to be able to also listen to it and download it, or even download it on YouTube as a video episode, to make sure that the network grows and grows. And thank you so much to all the regulars for being a part of this journey, and to the first timers, you are also welcome onto the boat, and make sure you do the same just like the regulars are doing. And don't forget to share it. And if you are watching this video or listening to it on social media, make sure you like it, follow it, and share it with the loved ones, be able to have a conversation about this. And for those who are listening to it via podcast platforms, for the regulars, you all know what to do. Listen to it at your own free time. If you want to download it, please do so, also at your own free time. And also share it to your loved ones, and make sure that this network grows, because this network is for you and not just me alone. And if you do that for me, I'll also do that to you, as we share the love together and grow this channel moving forward. Otherwise, thank you so much for being a part of this episode, and until the next one, have a great day and be blessed.